It's really interesting that there are actually some hidden prophecies that not many people know about. And so we are living in a time when the prophecies of the Bible are coming to light like never before, and it's really exciting. Suddenly, prophecies that were mysterious and unknown for millennia can now be understood. So when Revelation speaks about the entire world being able to see certain prophecies being fulfilled, it was likely very difficult for the ancient audience to understand how that could be possible, but now, with modern inventions like television and the internet, it's common for the entire world to see certain events unfold. So the entire scope of my new 2-volume set is to show what signs are occurring right now that prove the time we're living in is prophetically significant. I think we are in the end of the end times, right before the tribulation, right before the rapture. I think we're right at the door. So to start off, I'd like to introduce you to an example of a hidden prophecy that we can now understand, plus show how we can use the attributes of God as explained in the Bible to show evidences of him in his own creation. So this is going to kind of be like a two-part episode of the Sharpening Report. So first, let's talk about the hidden prophecy. So there are hidden prophecies all throughout the Bible, and these come through in different ways and are deciphered using a variety of methods. But one such hidden prophecy can be found in an often overlooked book of the Bible. And by the way, I should mention too, I used this section that I'm about to get into for an article in the Prophecy Watcher, which is the Prophecy Watcher, prophecywatchers.com. It's their magazine. It's called the Prophecy Watcher. It's all articles from a bunch of different authors, like myself, Gary Stearman, L.A. Marzulli, a whole bunch of people from month to month contribute to these things. But I wrote an article, and I believe this one was in maybe this month, maybe March. I don't remember specifically, but if you're looking for it, the article is called Haman to Hitler, and that's what we're going to be talking about here. So let's get into that, and it's a really interesting and it's a really cool prophecy. So the book of Esther tells of an enemy that wished for the annihilation of all Jews. Esther 3:13 reads, "And the letters were sent by posts into all the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all Jews, both young and old, little children and women, in one day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month of Adar, and to take the spoil of them for a prey." Just to quickly pause right there, on the Dead Sea Scroll calendar, you can actually map out where that day is. You can go to dsscalendar.org if you want the online version, or if you want a print version, we have that available too. And purchases of the print version go to support both me and Dr. Ken Johnson's ministry. He developed the calendar, I put it into print, so we split the proceeds, and they go to support both of our ministries. So if you're interested in that, link is in the description below. Okay, now, besides being just a fascinating story, there is also a prophecy hidden within the original texts of this account. So the book of Esther tells of the Jews' victory over Haman and his 10 sons in specific detail, which is where the hidden prophecy can be found. So Esther 9:5-14 reads, "Thus the Jews smote all their enemies with the stroke of the sword and slaughter and destruction, and did what they would unto those that hated them. And in Shushan, the palace of the Jews, slew and destroyed 500 men. And Parshandatha, and Dalphon, and Aspatha, and Poratha, and Adalia, and Aridatha, and Parmashta, and Arisai, and Aridai, and Veizatha, the 10 sons of Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the enemy of the Jews, slew they. But on the spoil laid they not their hand. On that day, the number of those that were slain in Shushan the palace was brought before the king. And the king said unto Esther the queen, The Jews have slain and destroyed 500 men in Shushan the palace, and the 10 sons of Haman. What have they done in the rest of the king's provinces? Now what is thy petition? And it shall be granted thee, or what is thy request further, and it shall be done. Okay, so I'm just going to pause right there. So Esther's being told that the Jews have slain and destroyed 500 men in Shushan, the palace, and the 10 sons of Haman. So they're dead, okay? And he's like, so what should we do now? So this is what Esther said. Then said Esther, if it please the king, let it be granted to the Jews which are in Shushan to do tomorrow also according unto this day's decree, and let Haman's sons be hanged upon the gallows. Strange. And the king commanded it so to be done, and the decree was given to given at Shushan, and they hanged Haman's 10 sons. Okay. So to minimize confusion, let's break this passage down in order of prophetic importance and first mention. So we are told that the Jews defeated their enemies, which totaled to 500 men. That's Esther 9, 5-6. Next, the names of Haman's 10 sons are listed, and we are told that they were defeated as well. Esther 9, 7-10. We are then told that the king was informed of the number of those defeated. That's Esther 9:11. Next, the king asked Esther what request she had and promised to grant it to her. That's Esther 9:12. Lastly, and quite strangely, because they had already been slain, Esther requested that, quote, tomorrow let Haman's 10 sons be hanged upon the gallows, end quote, to which the king made good on his promise by commanding it to be done, and so it was. That's Esther 9, 13-14. So what is going on here? Well, the word morrow in Esther 9:13 comes from the Hebrew word mahar and can mean either tomorrow or time to come. Queen Esther may not have been making this request for the following day, but may have been making a prophetic statement. So we have two possibilities here. And both of these could even be true. Either Queen Esther wanted to wait until the following day and re-hang the corpses of Haman's 10 sons for some strange reason. And I'm not saying that that's impossible, maybe just for a show of dominance or, whatever, just to show everybody we defeated them. Maybe they did that. It still sounds strange to us, but, possible. Or, and again, it could be both of these, or she was prophesying that this same thing would happen again at some point in the future, the time to come, because remember, that word morrow could mean time to come, so that this same thing might happen again in the future, or again, both. So let's explore the latter. Now, we can find further evidence of this by looking at the original Hebrew texts and how the names of Haman's sons were listed out in Esther 9, 7-9. So there are 4 Hebrew letters that stand out in the list of the names of Haman's 10 sons. 3 of the letters in the text are noticeably smaller than normal, where one is larger. By the way, if you want the show notes to this episode, if you want the show notes that has all of the references where you can go online and check this stuff out yourself, I do have a Substack, and also I have dailyrenegade.com. So at dailyrenegade.com, it will be a downloadable PDF, so you'll actually get the introduction to my new 2-volume set for free with your membership. At dailyrenegade.com. You just go to the video page, you can download the PDF, and then you have it. Or if you want the audio-only podcast version of this episode, some people don't want a video, they just want the podcast to listen to in the car or whatever. That's my Substack, but with the Substack, I also include the show notes as like a blog post for subscribers to that. And that's joshpeck.substack.com and dailyrenegade.com. All the information is in the description below if you're viewing this on YouTube or Rumble. And if you want to quickly know, membership to Daily Renegade, it's only $10 a month or $100 a year. If you can do the 100, I suggest doing that. It's cheaper in the long run. And then Substack, it's half the price of that. It's $5 a month or $50 a year. And again, if you can afford it, you should do the $50 a year because it's cheaper in the long run. So if you bundle all of that together, not only do you get full videos, the full video, because I usually only put about half of the video up on YouTube. You get the full video at dailyrenegade.com plus the downloadable PDF that will have all of my all the notes, the entire script, plus my references, so you can find the links, you can find where to research this stuff for yourself. And with the Substack subscription, you also get the audio-only podcast, plus then you get an online version that you don't have to download. And whenever I post on there, it goes directly to your email, so you can even read it in your email. And that's got the information there too. So just wanted to make note of that. Okay. And again, all those links are in the description below. So again, there are 4 Hebrew letters that stand out in the list of names of Haman's 10 sons. 3 of the letters are noticeably smaller than normal, whereas 1 is larger. So the 3 Hebrew letters that are smaller are the Tav in Parishandatha, the Shin in Parmashta, and the Zayin in Vayazatha. The larger Hebrew letter is the Vav in Vayazatha. So in the Hebrew language, each letter of the Hebrew alphabet has a numeric value. The study and calculation of these number values to gain deeper insight is called gematria. And when we add up the numeric values of the 4 Hebrew letters that were unusually sized in the original text of the list of Haman's sons, we come up with the number 5707, 5707, which corresponds to a Hebrew calendar year. The year 1946 AD would be the same as the Hebrew year 5707 according to the Hebrew calendar. Now, I want to pause for a moment because that's the modern Hebrew calendar that's different than the Dead Sea Scroll one. People might ask, well, why is that? Why wouldn't it be on the Dead Sea Scroll one? Well, I think it's for a very important reason. So, back when Jesus was fulfilling prophecies and stuff, most of those were on the Dead Sea Scroll calendar, but at that time in Israel, really 2 calendars were being used. The state of Israel, the main government, they used an earlier version of what is now the modern Jewish calendar. So they were off on some of their days. But that was the national thing that most of Israel used. And then the Essenes and those who followed the Essenes would have used what we call the Essene calendar or the Dead Sea Scroll calendar. So you had 2 of these calendars being used at the same time. Well, not everybody knew what to do with that. So I think it's one of those situations where God will meet you where you are at times. So there are times that God did fulfill certain things on the Hebrew calendar, on the Israel calendar, rather than the Dead Sea Scroll calendar. He has done that. Now, back when this would have happened, so 1946, the Dead Sea Scrolls weren't discovered yet. They weren't found. And certainly the Dead Sea Scroll calendar had not been reconstructed yet. Actually, that didn't happen. That wasn't completed until just a couple of years ago. So that's a very recent thing. So if God would have done this on the Dead Sea Scroll calendar, nobody before a couple of years ago would have even known about this. And actually, it would have looked like it was a wrong prophecy because all anybody was aware of is what we would call now the modern Jewish calendar. So it makes sense that if that's all anybody knew was the modern Jewish calendar and had no knowledge of the Dead Sea Scroll calendar, if God's wanting to make a point or if God's wanting to show something, he would use what people are familiar with. And that's what people were familiar with. So yeah, I think this is one of those times where just because nobody knew about the Dead Sea Scroll calendar yet, so it wouldn't have had the same impact that it would had they have known that. I think that's why in situations like this, and again, it's you got to take it case by case basis, but I think that's why in this situation that it was on the Hebrew calendar. So I'm going to mention that again. I'm going to just mention that again, just so we can all absorb it, because I know I just threw a whole bunch of information at you. When we add up those numeric values of those 4 Hebrew letters that were unusually sized in the original text of the list of Haman's sons, we come up with the number 5707, which corresponds to a Hebrew calendar year. And the year 1946 AD, so 1946, would be the same year as the Hebrew year 5707, according to the Hebrew calendar. Now, it seems, through this revelation, we're given a year for the judgment of Haman's future sons. So the 7th day of Sukkot, or the Feast of Tabernacles, is called Hoshana Rabbah. And interestingly enough, Hoshana Rabbah is the last of the days of judgment. The Feast of Tabernacles is outlined in Leviticus 23, 33 through 44. And going along with this trend in the days of judgment, this gives us an exact date of the judgment to be carried out. So the seventh day of Sukkot in the Hebrew year 5707 would equate to October 16th, 1946. Now, the amazing thing is that on October 16th, 1946, 10 leading Nazis were hanged in Nuremberg, Germany for their crimes against the Jewish people. There were originally 23 that were on trial. 11 were sentenced, and 1 committed suicide before the sentencing was carried out, leaving 10 that were hanged. Now, even though the sentencing was carried out by a military tribunal, they did not end up choosing a normal form of execution, such as by firing squad. Instead, they chose for the execution to be done by hanging, fitting right in with Queen Esther's request. Now, you might be wondering, well, what does Haman have to do with the Nazis? Well, it's traditionally believed that the German Nazis were of direct descendants, whether literal or symbolic is up for debate, of Amalek, thereby making them literal and biological sons of Haman, if it's literal. Now, again, this could literally be the case and is definitely a valid viewpoint, but even if that's not the case, the 10 executed Nazis still could have been considered as sons of Haman because they were clearly tied in with the same Antichrist spirit as the original 10 sons of Haman. So, this amazing and in-depth prophecy shows us a clear link between Haman's 10 sons and the Nazi regime, as well as establishes the legitimacy and accuracy of the Bible. Haman's 10 sons and the Nazi regime were both led by the spirit of Antichrist. When the biblical notion of the spirit of Antichrist is fully understood, not to be confused with the biblical end-time figure known as the Antichrist, but we're talking about the spirit of Antichrist. John says that there are many Antichrists in the world. Well, we find evidence of this is not only found within the Esther prophecy. Future evidence can be found by merely looking at the actions of Haman's 10 sons and Hitler's Nazis. Both wanted the utter destruction of the Jewish people and attempted to carry this out within their own time period. Hatred of the Jews and the want for their destruction is a clear characteristic of the spirit of Antichrist. Now, there is much, much more that could be said about this Esther prophecy, but the information and strange occurrences surrounding this prophecy could easily fill a book all of its own. So what's presented here, it's just the basic basic information. However, I would highly encourage the reader, or the viewer in this case, to study this out further if it is of interest. This is one small example of how an ancient hidden prophecy can come to light in our modern day. If you are a Bible-believing Christian who opposes the kingdom of darkness trying to run the world right now, then you are a renegade to the satanic system. We here at Daily Renegade wear that badge proudly. So, if you're a renegade as well, head on over to dailyrenegade.com right now and get a membership today. You'll get our full catalog of Sharpening Report episodes and daily Renegade update videos on topics such as Bible prophecy, science, technology, the Nephilim, aliens, and so much more. All of our episodes at Daily Renegade are early access, so as a member, you'll get the videos before anyone else does. Daily Renegade also offers videos not available anywhere else due to social media censorship. We also have a community page only for members where we can all fellowship together without fear of censorship. It's basically the best of Facebook and YouTube rolled into one without any of the garbage. Memberships are only $10 a month or $100 a year, and if you can do it, I suggest getting the $100 a year because it's cheaper in the long run, and essentially you get 2 months for free that way. So come join our family of renegades at dailyrenegade.com right now. The link is in the description below, and we'll see you there.